That historic, deadly winter storm and its impact on all of western New York. The city of Buffalo is digging out after several feet of snow blanketed cars, roads, and homes in what the state's governor has called the, quote, blizzard of the century. Officials in Erie County, which includes Buffalo, say the death toll there has risen to 34 people. Some of the victims were found in their cars or outside in the cold. Others suffering cardiac events from shoveling or blowing snow. Mona Kosar Abdi joins us live now from Buffalo. So, Mona, there you are in the middle of what is a disaster zone of snow, something we aren't, you see bad snowstorms, but this is really, truly deadly. What more are we learning about the victims killed in this storm?
Well, as you mentioned, Terry, the death toll has now risen to 34. It was 32 this morning. At least 26 of those deaths were right here in the city of Buffalo, 7 in the suburbs, and 3 people have yet to be identified. And unfortunately, the mayor says as emergency officials conduct more and more welfare checks now that the roads are starting to get cleared up, that number will continue to rise. And we're learning the names of some of these people. 22-year-old Andell Taylor, she was stuck in her car for 18 hours. She sent one final video to her family, and you could see her car surrounded in snow. I spoke with Sophia Clay, who her brother, William Clay, a Buffalo native. She says it was his birthday on Christmas Eve, and right before he thought the storm was going to get bad, he went to the grocery store and he never made it home. And we've heard similar stories where these people grew up right here in western New York. They're used to heavy snowfall, but even they could not believe that these conditions got so bad. Terry?
It's just tragic, Mona. There are still hundreds of power outages, we understand, when because of all this. So when are people expected to get their electricity back?
There are over 800 people still without power. The mayor himself at one point was without power for 24 hours, but then there were people who were without power for 48, 72 hours. And so right now, still over 800 people are without power. Power crews are out on the streets. We see them, we see the trucks in full force. And the city says that they hope to have at least 95% of those outages restored by later today. And anyone who's had their power out for 72 hours can get reimbursed for any spoiled food or a medication that might have gone bad, Terry.
Great. So in a little bit, we're going to talk with Buffalo's mayor. He says he hopes to lift the city's driving ban. People still asked to keep off the roads. So how are people getting around? How's that ban being enforced?
Well, the ban that the mayor is talking about, the driving ban, was put into place because when we first got here on Sunday, the roads were so bad that people were using snowmobiles to get around. And as the plows were able to hit the roads and clear some of the roads, we saw some 4-lane roads go down to 1 lane, then 2 lanes. Right now, a lot of the main streets are starting to clear up, but that driving ban is still in place because they want emergency vehicles, essential vehicles, the snow plows, the power crew vehicles to be able to get around and restore power, do welfare checks. So he's hoping to ease it later today, but that driving ban is still in effect. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that are still not adhering to it. The National Guard did send 100 military police officers, and also state police are in the area to enforce that driving ban, but people are so anxious to get out. A lot of people looking for their cars that were towed to different locations and trying to recover that. The grocery stores are opening back up, businesses are opening back up, and so that's why we're seeing a lot more cars on the road. Fortunately, a lot of the main roads now with the snow melting have cleared up.
So, Mona, if I can ask you, you're reporting on the ground there, and we appreciate it, telling us about how people who live there are affected. What's it like to be there? How are you getting around? And you've been there for a couple of days now. What's it like for you?
Mm-hmm. Well, as I mentioned earlier, we got here on Sunday and the roads were impassable. People were getting around on snowmobiles. We saw cars just abandoned in the middle of busy roads and intersections, and they were just buried in feet of snow. And so the conditions then were completely horrible, and that is why the driving ban was in place. If you wanted to go on the freeway, you couldn't because there were no freeway on-ramps because they were completely snow-packed, and that was probably the worst of it. And as more and more help arrived, there were crews sent in from Rochester, and then finally, I want to mention too that around that time, Christmas Eve, at one point, people were calling 911 and they weren't even able to get emergency help. And so the minute that the snowplows were able to hit the streets and clear some of the roads, when the snow finally stopped falling, there was a rush to get people the emergency help that they needed, because honestly, a lot of it was just neighbors helping neighbors, Terry.
And Mona, that's a vivid picture there, and we also see those cars abandoned around the city and around the region. What happens to all those abandoned vehicles on city streets?
That is a good question. Well, I'm standing at a Tops supermarket parking lot. It is a popular chain around here, and this is actually one of the spots where tow trucks are taking the cars. They've tagged them with caution tape, and they've just dropped them off here. There's supposed to be a database where people can put their information in, their license plate, and they can find out where their car was taken to. We spoke with a few people that were out here trying to get their battery up and running again, and one person said they called the local police department and they were able to direct them here to go pick up their car. One guy said that the database that he was supposed to find his car wasn't going to be updated until Friday, and so him and his uncle just jumped in his car and they just started driving around the city, and they were finally able to locate their car here. Unfortunately, though, the car was not it was not operating. So but yeah, here, this is one of the locations and many lots around the city. Terry.
Wow. What a story. Mona Kosar Abdi, thanks very much for covering it for us. Appreciate it.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.